Hey everyone, and welcome back to the EMT Spot's Blood Pressure Podcast.
I'm Olivia Harper,
I'm Samuel Harrison.
and we are diving into a topic that's probably crossed all of your minds.
If you've ever broken a sweat,
How does exercise really affect blood pressure?
yeah, there's this
Mhm.
common misconception
Right.
that exercise equals skyrocketing blood pressure.
Yeah.
And it's true. Your heart is working harder during a workout.
Absolutely. It is true that your heart is going to be pumping more blood.
Mm-hmm.
It's going to be beating faster.
Right.
And so that's going to increase the pressure in your arteries temporarily.
So that top number, the systolic pressure,
Yes, exactly.
that's the one we're really thinking about here.
And the systolic blood pressure is the pressure in your arteries when your heart beats.
Right.
So it makes sense that that number would go up when you're exercising.
Okay, so we might see a temporary rise during exercise, but it's important to remember the long-term benefits.
Exactly, because over time, regular exercise can actually help lower your blood pressure,
Really?
especially if you have high blood pressure to begin with.
Interesting. So it's not just about what happens during the workout.
No, it's about the bigger picture.
Okay, so let's get into the specifics.
Oh,
We're
right.
talking numbers here.
Yeah, let's talk numbers.
What's a normal resting blood pressure?
So normal resting blood pressure should be below 120 over 80 millimeters of mercury, or MNHG.
Okay, 120 over 80.
That's our baseline.
Got it.
But when you start exercising, those numbers are going to change.
So during a workout, what's a safe range for those numbers to climb to?
So during exercise, it's generally considered safe for your systolic blood pressure, that top number, to rise to between a 160 and 220 millimole Hg.
Okay, 160 to 220.
And that might sound like a big jump.
Yeah, it does.
But remember, your body is working hard delivering oxygen to your muscles.
Makes sense.
So it's natural for your blood pressure to increase.
So there's got to be a limit, right?
Oh, absolutely.
At what point should we be like, okay, stop, call the doctor?
Exactly. If you see that top number go above 200 millimole Hg during your workout, that's a major red flag.
Okay.
You need to stop what you're doing and consult with your doctor.
Got it.
It's better to be safe than sorry.
So we've talked about what happens during exercise.
Right.
But what about afterwards?
The cool down period.
Yeah. How long does it typically take for our blood pressure to return to normal?
So for most people, your blood pressure will settle back down fairly quickly after you've caught your breath,
Okay.
but it can vary from person to person.
Really?
Some people might stay slightly elevated for a few hours.
So what's the rule of thumb? When should we be worried if it hasn't gone back to normal?
Here's a good guideline. If your blood pressure is still high 2 hours after exercising, it's a good idea to reach out to your doctor.
Okay, 2 hours.
Yeah, they can help determine what's going on
Makes sense.
and whether any further action is needed.
Now, I've always wondered if, how fit you are plays a role.
Oh, absolutely.
And how quickly your blood pressure recovers.
It definitely does.
Oh.
You know, think about a well-conditioned athlete.
Right.
Their body is like a finely tuned machine. They're used to those fluctuations in blood flow, and they can bounce back faster.
Interesting.
So the fitter you are, the more efficiently your body can generally regulate those changes.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
Okay, but let's talk about when high blood pressure after exercise becomes a serious issue.
Right.
What is a hypertensive emergency?
So a hypertensive emergency is when your blood pressure spikes to 180 over 120 millimolar Hg or higher,
Okay.
and it's usually accompanied by other alarming symptoms.
Like what?
So imagine you finished your workout, but you have persistent chest pain,
Uh-oh.
shortness of breath, maybe even back pain, or you notice changes in your vision or numbness in parts of your body.
Wow.
Those are all signs that something's seriously wrong.
So what should we do if we suspect someone is experiencing that?
Call 911 immediately.
Okay.
This is a life-threatening situation that requires immediate medical attention.
So we know exercise can cause that temporary rise in blood pressure, and we know when it becomes an emergency.
Right.
But let's shift gears a bit.
Yeah.
And talk about people who already have high blood pressure.
All right.
Can they still exercise safely?
They absolutely can, but it's important for anyone with pre-existing hypertension to talk to their doctor.
Right.
They can help create a personalized exercise plan.
So what are some general tips people with high blood pressure should keep in mind when it comes to working out?
Well, first and foremost, avoid going from 0 to 60.
Okay.
Don't make drastic changes to your activity level. Start slow.
Ease into it.
Exactly. And gradually increase the intensity and duration of your workouts.
Got it.
And staying hydrated is super important too,
All right.
because dehydration can actually contribute to fluctuations in blood pressure.
What about monitoring blood pressure after exercising?
Yeah, it's a good idea to keep an eye on your numbers after your workout.
Okay.
Don't panic if they're a little higher than usual, but take it easy for the rest of the day. Let your body recover.
Makes sense. So it seems like communication with your doctor is really key.
Absolutely. Open communication is essential.
All right, listeners, we've covered a lot of ground.
We have.
From those normal ups and downs during a workout
Right.
to those red flags that signal a real emergency.
Exactly.
But before we wrap up this part of our deep dive,
Yeah?
I have a question.
Okay, I'm all ears.
We focused a lot on high blood pressure.
Mm-hmm.
What about people with low blood pressure? How does exercise affect them differently?
That's a great question, and one we'll definitely delve into in the next part of our deep dive.
Ooh, a cliffhanger.
Stay tuned. Yeah, that is a really interesting point you bring up about low blood pressure and exercise.
Right.
It's not something we hear about as often, but it's definitely worth considering.
We're always told to be wary of it going up too much.
Yeah.
But could it go down too much during or after a workout?
It is possible, but it's important to remember that low blood pressure is a relative term. What's considered low for one person might be perfectly normal for another.
Right.
Some people naturally have lower blood pressure, and it doesn't cause them any problems.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
So are there any specific risks or things to be aware of for people with low blood pressure who exercise?
Well, while exercise is generally beneficial even for those with low blood pressure,
Uh-huh.
there are a few things to be mindful of.
Okay.
For example, some people with low blood pressure might experience dizziness or lightheadedness during or after exercise,
So yeah.
especially if they stand up quickly.
Right, that classic head rush.
Exactly.
We've all been there.
It's important to stay hydrated and avoid those sudden changes in position.
Okay.
And as always, listening to your body is crucial.
Right.
If you start feeling faint or lightheaded, stop and rest.
Got it.
Don't push yourself beyond your limits.
Okay, so we've got the low blood pressure folks covered.
All right?
Switching gears a bit, I'm curious about something else I read.
Okay.
They mentioned something called exercise-induced hypertension.
Ah, yes. That's a fascinating phenomenon.
It sounds a little counterintuitive, right?
It does a bit.
You're exercising to improve your health,
Yeah.
and it ends up causing a spike in blood pressure.
Yeah. What's that all about?
Right.
Well, it's not entirely understood why some people experience this, but essentially exercise-induced hypertension, or EIH,
EIH.
happens when your systolic blood pressure increases beyond a certain threshold during exercise and then takes a long time to return to normal.
So it's not just that temporary rise we talked about earlier.
Exactly. With EIH, the elevated blood pressure lingers.
Okay.
And that's where it can become a concern.
I see. So how common is this EIH?
It's not as common as regular hypertension, but it's not something to ignore either.
Okay.
Estimates suggest that it might affect somewhere between 15% and 25% of people with high blood pressure.
Wow. So those are pretty significant numbers.
Yeah.
And what can people do if they suspect they might have it?
First and foremost, talk to your doctor. They can help you figure out if that's what's going on and suggest appropriate management strategies.
Are there any specific tests for diagnosing EIH?
Yes, there are. Your doctor might recommend an exercise stress test,
Okay.
which involves monitoring your blood pressure while you exercise on a treadmill or stationary bike.
So they can see how you respond.
Exactly.
Okay, that makes sense. So let's say someone's diagnosed with it.
Uh-huh.
Do they have to give up exercise altogether?
Not necessarily. In many cases, it's about modifying your exercise routine
Okay.
and finding activities that don't trigger such a dramatic spike in blood pressure.
So it's about finding that sweet spot.
Exactly. The type of exercise that gets your heart rate up but doesn't send your blood pressure soaring.
Got it. And I guess everyone is different.
Absolutely. What works for one person might not work for another.
Right.
It's all about working with your doctor to find a safe and effective exercise plan.
This has been super informative.
Good.
I feel like we've really dug deep into this.
Yeah, we have.
But before we wrap up, I wanted to circle back to something you mentioned earlier
Okay.
about the importance of listening to your body.
Yes, absolutely. Our bodies are incredibly smart and often give us subtle cues when something isn't quite right.
Right.
So when it comes to exercise, it's crucial to pay attention to those signals.
So what are some of the signals we should be looking out for, besides like the dizziness and lightheadedness we talked about before?
Well, other things to watch out for include excessive fatigue,
Okay.
chest pain, shortness of breath, or an irregular heartbeat.
Got it.
If you experience any of these symptoms during or after exercise, it's important to stop and seek medical attention if needed.
Okay, so those are the red flags.
Right.
What about those more subtle cues? Like what if it's not a full-blown warning sign, but just a feeling that something's a little off?
That's where intuition comes into play.
Okay.
If you have a nagging feeling that something isn't right, don't dismiss it. Trust your gut and check in with your doctor.
I love that advice.
Wow.
Trust your gut.
It's always better to err on the side of caution when it comes to your health.
It's so easy to get caught up in pushing ourselves
I know.
and trying to meet certain fitness goals, but it's important to remember that our health and well-being should always come first.
Couldn't agree more. Exercise is meant to enhance our lives, not put them at risk.
Right.
So listen to your body, be mindful of your limits, and don't hesitate to seek guidance from your healthcare providers.
Excellent advice.
Thank you.
Olivia, this has been an incredibly insightful conversation.
Likewise.
I feel like we've covered so much ground
We have.
and really gained a deeper understanding.
It's fascinating, isn't it?
It is.
There's always something new to discover when it comes to our health and how our bodies work.
I couldn't agree more.
Yeah.
Well, folks, we're just about out of time for this part of our episode.
Okay.
But before we move on to our final thoughts, I want to thank you all for joining us on this journey.
Yes. Thank you for listening.
We hope you're finding this information helpful and empowering.
And remember, knowledge is power. Yes.
So keep learning, keep asking questions, and keep taking care of yourselves.
We'll be back in a moment with more insights into the world of exercise and blood pressure. Stay tuned. As we wrap up this deep dive, I'm struck by something we haven't really touched on yet. Oh, what's that?
The emotional side of things, we've talked a lot about the physical effects of exercise on blood pressure.
Right.
But what about the mental and emotional aspects?
That's a fantastic point. Exercise isn't just about physical health.
Right.
It's about overall well-being. And that includes our mental and emotional state.
Exactly. We all know exercise can be a great stress reliever.
Absolutely.
Helps us clear our heads, boosts our mood, just generally makes us feel better.
There's a wealth of research that shows the positive impact of exercise on mental health. It can help reduce anxiety, improve sleep quality, and even alleviate symptoms of depression.
And, let's not forget the social aspects.
Look at a point.
For a lot of people, exercise is a way to connect with others. Whether it's joining a gym class, going for a run with a friend, playing a team sport.
Yeah, those social connections are so vital for our emotional well-being.
Right.
They provide a sense of belonging, support, and camaraderie.
So it seems like exercise is really a win-win situation.
It really is.
It benefits our physical health, our mental health, and our social lives.
And I think that's an important message to emphasize, especially for people who might be hesitant to start exercising or who have had negative experiences in the past.
I agree. It's about finding activities that you enjoy, that fit into your lifestyle, and that make you feel good, both physically and emotionally.
And remember, it's never too late to start.
Right.
Whether you're a seasoned athlete or a complete beginner, there's always a way to incorporate movement into your life in a way that feels positive and empowering.
Well said, Olivia. This has been such an enriching conversation.
I've enjoyed it immensely.
I feel like we've covered so much ground and really gained a deeper understanding of this.
It's a multifaceted topic, isn't it?
It is. Well, folks, it's time for us to say goodbye for now. But before we sign off,
Yes.
I want to leave you with one final thought.
Ooh, I love a good parting thought.
Remember that your health is a journey, not a destination. It's about making small, sustainable changes over time that add up to big results.
Absolutely.
And it's about finding joy in the process.
Beautiful. I couldn't have said it better myself.
So keep moving, keep exploring, and keep celebrating all the amazing things your body can do. Thanks for joining us on the EMT-SPOT's Blood Pressure Podcast. I'm Samuel Harrison.
And I'm Olivia Harper.
We hope you enjoyed this deep dive into the world of exercise and blood pressure. If you did, don't forget to subscribe, like, comment, and share this episode with anyone who might find it helpful. Until next time, stay curious, stay informed, and stay well.